Hey guys, what's up? I just got back from running some errands this evening, and I passed by a little farm stand on the side of the road. It's kind of like a farm stand slash farm store. There's a lot of that here in South Carolina because there's a lot of food that's grown here. I love it. And I went in and they had some plants for sale, fall plants. And, you know, plants for sale. I bought some. So I'm gonna go grab those and we're gonna go out to the garden and put them in some garden beds. I got one flat, plus I got some other odds and ends things like some seed garlic, and I thought this was really interesting. I've never seen this for sale at a store before, but they had these packages of, like, this is cabbage plants. I have no idea variety that it is. It just said cabbage. But it was like $2.50, and it's like 20 little plants that, like, were in these tiny little plug trays. Obviously, they need to be planted immediately. This is my priority. I got 20 cabbage plants and 20 broccoli plants for $2.50. I thought that was pretty good. They're looking a little rough, but I think we can bring them back and that they will be a bargain at that price. So I have several things started, but I'm gonna end up having more space than I thought. And since our weather is really rapidly cooling off, you know, more plants won't go amiss. Got some bok choy. These are collards, some Brussels sprouts, and kale. And then of course I got the cabbages and broccoli, and I got some little onion sets. I'm gonna experiment a little with these. They were really cheap, so I figured I could put them in and see, as well as some garlic that I'm gonna experiment with. This year I planted my onions and garlic here in South Carolina at the same time that I have previously had success planting it in Arkansas, but I'm in South Carolina now, and I didn't have a lot of success. I planted it, I think, a little too late for here. So I'm gonna try this year planting a little bit on the early end, like the beginning of October, and then maybe a little bit in November, a little bit in December, and kind of see what does best. So sort of playing around and trying to find out what works for my new zone. I also brought my big honkin' photo camera out here because my friends over at Murray McMurray Hatchery are finalizing their catalog, and my chickens came from them. So I've been taking pictures of my chickens the last couple of days. I told y'all in my last vlog I wanted to take pictures of the chickens in the garden, and that's why. But I have a couple over here I'm gonna snap a few photos of to send over to them in case they need them for the catalog. And you know, who doesn't love chicken pictures, right? That's actually gonna be the first task because the light is like perfectly golden right now. So as a photographer, which is what I used to do for my job, I always called this the golden hour. That's what people call it. Well, Ezra the other day came out while I was taking photos. This is tight right here. I'm gonna have to find another place to step over this fence. He said, "Mom, are you trying to get your pictures before shine time is over?" And I was like, shine time? Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. So, I see one molty looking chicken. We're getting there. Okay. A handful of these birds are actually still from my old farm, and a couple of them came from my friend Wes. But those new hens up at the front are all Murray McMurray. But I do have a couple of Murray McMurray birds here that I'm going to try to snap a few pictures of. And this quite a few of these chickens are really starting to molt, which means they lose their feathers at the end of the year, and they stop laying, which I knew our eggs had gone down, but they look definitely more scraggly today than they did even just a few days ago, so it's very normal. So I don't know that I'll get any catalog pictures out here. Alright, well, I got a good one of the rooster, but several of these ladies are looking a little distressed. Get back over the fence. Always double check the electric fence if you're gonna step over it like that. And don't ever step over it if you have a practical joker around, because it will not be nearly as funny as they think it's gonna be. Alright, down to the other flock to take a few more photos, and then we'll go plant the garden. These pictures will just turn out better because there's a lot more going on in here. Plus this is a younger flock, so they're looking, you know, more like spring chicks. I've taken like 8 jillion chicken pictures, but I did get one that if it's as good as I think it is, I'm gonna be very happy with it. I'll put it up here on the screen if it's good. I think it is. I think it's really good. All right, time to plant now. We're gonna start, like I said, with the little cabbages and broccoli, just because I don't think these plants in this situation are gonna last that much longer. They need some nutrients and water. Here is our raised bed garden in progress. Over here, I've got tomatoes and there's a couple pepper plants. That's like a celosia, some eggplants. And I'm actually going to be taking these guys out of here. I didn't bring my clippers down here, so I'll just do it tomorrow, but I'm gonna just come cut them all off at the base. I'll typically leave a root system like that in because it just breaks down and adds to the soil health. It's organic matter. And as you can see, we have little green tomatoes on here, but I don't think that we have time for these to ripen, and I'm just gonna pull them out because I would rather have the space for something that I'm sure will live through the freeze. So this bed is empty, aside from these hoses sitting here. And I'm gonna move these guys, and this is where I'm gonna plant today. This is pretty straightforward. This is prepared soil. These beds are filled on the bottom with wood mulch, some branches, some like grass clippings and stuff like that. And then about the top 10 inches is actual soil. I'm going to plant these. I'm going to do cabbage in this bed. You know, I really like to use diversity in a garden and try to mix things up. Plant a little of this here and a little of that there. The idea of that is to kind of try to deter pests. I think it's really beautiful. I love a good hodgepodge. It's also not that big of a deal to do like a whole bed of broccoli. The idea of planting diversely, this is still diverse. Like this is far and away from the monocrops that we're trying to stay away from, where they plant acres and acres of the same thing. Having one garden bed that's all the same thing and another garden bed that's a different thing, that's okay. Now in South Carolina, the struggle with growing brassicas is that it's still warm into the fall and into the winter even. And so I'll have to keep an eye on these and make sure I'm not seeing any like little white moths laying their eggs on this, because then I'll get those little caterpillars that eat up your brassicas really quickly. Shouldn't be a problem, especially as our temperature is dropping now, but if that is a problem, I'll put some netting over this. So we're gonna go like maybe like 20-ish inches away from each other with these. This is a 4-foot bed, and what I'll typically do to get the most of planting here is I'll like put one here so this can get to be a big head of cabbage, one there so they're a little over 2 feet away, and then I'll stagger them with one here in the middle and then one here, one there. I actually might be able to put cabbage and broccoli in this bed. I don't think it's going to take all of this to fill it up. Anyway, you guys hang out down here on the end and I'll work my way towards you. Oh, I gotta move you guys over there. You're sitting where the cabbages need to be. I have one that doesn't fit. There we go. He'll be the lone cabbage in the rutabaga bed. Alright, so honestly these are planted a little close together. That might make for small cabbages, but these are also puny little plants. And I don't know how they're gonna do at all, but they've got about 18 inches between each one, and I think that's probably okay. So I can't say for sure whether this is gonna be like entirely successful, but that's $5 worth of plants, and had I planted it from seeds, it would have been $2 worth of seeds, if that. And if that yields, you know, even like 30 heads of cabbage and broccoli, it's a lot of food for $5. I mean, we're just not gonna add up how much the garden bed cost. We don't talk about that. That's where you get that thing. Have you seen that thing where people are like, oh, I've just harvested my first tomato and I figured out that it cost me like $550 or something. Gardening doesn't have to be expensive. When you start getting into building raised beds and all of that stuff, it can certainly add up, but even still, like we built these beds with cedar and metal that we bought as seconds, and with that being the case, even though, you know, this cost money up front, putting soil in it, some of which we got, you know, materials off of our property, but bringing in some soil. You definitely don't break even the first year or even the first couple as far as like how much your food costs, but eventually you do. Eventually with gardening, depending on how you go about it, sometimes you break even sooner and sometimes later, but eventually you'll look at it and be like, I really do save a lot of money growing my own food. Especially if you are comparing, if you're gardening organically and you are comparing to that kind of product. You can go into the store and see a 99-cent cabbage that's been shipped from God knows where and sprayed with God knows what and be like, man, I put in all this work, but your organic homegrown cabbage that traveled 40 feet to your kitchen is not the same product, and you can't really buy a comparable product. Goodness, look at this lovely sky. One benefit of my eczema flare, since, you know, I am an optimist, and so I'm always looking for the silver lining. People say, is your cup half empty or is your cup half full? And I like to think mine is on its way to overflowing. And my silver lining in the wretched skin situation is that I have been gardening underneath a sky like this quite a lot more lately than I usually do, and I like that. Oh look, there's a darling man coming up the driveway under the cotton candy sky.
I'd go for some cotton candy right now.
What are you doing?
I'm done feeding our children's.
Ah, you are the best. You are Ramses. Here you go.
I knew if I came down here I'd get roped into planting.
You knew that? And you came anyway?
Yeah, I like the look of you.
Oh, that's good. Alright, let's come down here. Those are going in this bed, Miah.
Okay.
I decided to hold off planting in the little beds because they didn't have the top caps yet and they still needed to be varnished. So I wanted to leave as little room for error as possible in that situation.
Okay, well it should be done in the next couple of days.
Yeah. I really like how this looks now that it's kind of coming together. I mean, I've seen it in my mind and I also have pictures drawn of it, but it's going to be really cool. Can y'all imagine this next year with the arched trellises? What do you think, Miah?
I knew what it would look like.
You knew what it would look like?
It's nice. Looking good.
You did a good job.
You always get so excited when we're only like
A third of the way done.
a third of the way done. We still got to do the arches, pavilion, walkways, flagstone.
Arbors, roses,
Right. So
fences.
I can see all that.
The exciting thing for me with 1/3 done is that, like, this was nothing. This was nothing a year ago. We were just settling in here a year ago. We had not done anything in this garden area. This was field. We had just put the driveway in September last year, right? Now look at it.
Pretty lush.
It is extraordinary. And I just know how much better it's gonna be. And for me, like, I have these visions in my mind of what things are gonna look like. That sky looks Technicolor. It's gonna be really hard to convey. Let me see. Okay, that's what it looks like out here right now. Isn't that wild? That's what the sky looks like. I have to lighten it up so you guys can see us, but it is incredible. As I was saying, I have visions in my head and I'll draw things, but I'm not fantastic at drawing. I'm more of a doodler. I'll know what they're gonna look like and I'll think I know what they're gonna look like, and then I start to see the actual thing in front of me and it is matching my head in my head. And you can't see what's in my head. I feel like Miah can. And I want to tell you guys about things, but more than that, I want to show you about things. And so when I can show you what I've been telling you about, it's like, yes. farm drums happening over here. Bear, back up, back up. Don't scare them. Alright, chickens chatting with barn cats. I feel like this could be a musical. Look. Definitely getting some Broadway musical vibes over here right now. Alright, I gotta plant these things because it really is getting dark. I can't chase any more squirrels. Oh, these empty beds are the ones over for the other side over here. So that's why those are here. We'll put them over there when we're ready. Do you want me to lay out the plants and then you can dig the holes?
Sure.
Or do you want to dig the hole? You want me to dig the holes and you can just come behind and put plants in it?
Whatever you think is more suited to my skill set with planting.
I think you could dig holes and put plants in. I have so much faith in you. Oh, these are leafy collards. Alright, every time I plant on YouTube, somebody gets on to me for how abusive I am towards plants.
Well, they seem to be fairly resilient.
I'm like, listen, me and plants, like the plant community, we're good. Like,
They're your best friends.
I mean, I've been turning people into plants for like 5 solid years now, being like, hey, you gotta get with plants. They're great. Make a place for plants in your life. You know? That's true.
How am I doing this?
Okay, so like a little bit off the bed, like probably like shovel space off the side. Just get this in to about soil level on the top.
Okay.
You got it? And
Sure.
a straightish line. Your lines will probably be straighter than mine because you are more particular than I am.
This isn't woodworking.
Huh?
I said this isn't woodworking.
Well, I enjoyed gardening with you, sweet Miah.
No problem.
No problem. In just a short 6 to 8 weeks, I will make you some fried cabbage.
I will do it. I will eat it.
In a few short months, roasted Brussels sprouts, broccoli salad. I'm feeling it.
Who are we going to share the Brussels sprouts with?
Only our most favorite people, our prized relationships for our precious Brussels sprouts.
That's true. I'm not going to just give them to anybody.
They're so good. Jeremiah tells people about Brussels sprouts from the garden all the time.
It's one of the best things I've ever tasted.
Well, guys, I think that's it for our light.
Oh, and my back.
Thank y'all. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We bless you. We bless you.
Oh, we bless you. Yeah.
We bless you. Until next time.